Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mindful Podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Elliott, and we are going to be talking about healing in this episode. A few weeks ago, I want to say maybe even a little bit longer, I talked about healing and how it's not linear, and just talking about, some days we have really good days, and some days we have some triggers, and it sets us back down, and it feels like we're taking 100 steps back, but healing is just not linear in general. And over the past week, I've just realized so much when it comes to healing. And one of the things that stands out is healing is also, you have to go through a grieving process while you're healing. Healing is just hard in general. It is so hard, and every single day there's things that will come up that's either used to be triggers or are triggers, and you're just constantly working through them. The biggest thing that we do have to have while healing is awareness, but it's just going through the day to day and getting out of the toxic cycle of trauma, any type of trauma that you've been through, or just really anything. I mean, we all have trauma. It's not going to look the same for everybody, but when we see those triggers or there's something that just sets us off, it has to be worked through. It has to be aware of, and that's hard. But like I said, one of the biggest things that has been sticking out to me is a grieving process has to happen while we are healing. And we have to kind of mourn the losses that we didn't get to experience while we were going through those traumatic times. It's sad to realize how much we missed out on, especially if the trauma is in our kid or teenage years. It's those times of our lives are supposed to be happy and joyful and just living and basically enjoying life. And sometimes that's not what it is for people. And we become adults and we mature and we grow a lot faster because of the trauma. And I mean, trauma in a way makes us strong, but we shouldn't have to go through trauma to be strong on the other side. There's beauty in it. Like, I can see the beauty in it, and I can see the ugly in it. It's a hard thing to navigate. It's a hard thing to go through. But there's a lot of sadness that comes when we reflect back on those times and realize how much we're missing out on. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. There's a whole lot of my life that I don't really remember because I was in such a survival mode that I was just going through my day, getting things done that needed to be done, so that, like, for example, grades, I would go to school, get all of my schoolwork done, then go to the sport that I was in, get that done, come home and go to sleep. And like, there was barely anything else outside of my life. Like, I was not living. I was just surviving to try and make it to the next day, to then go through the cycle of getting things done and pleasing other people and just not actually living. I was breathing and I was alive, but I was not living. I was just basically existing on planet Earth and surviving. And when we realized we were just in survival mode, like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I have so much tension in my body. It is absolutely insane. And I think it's just because I've been in survival mode so long that, like, I cannot relax. There's so much. I just cannot relax. There's one time throughout my day, on selective days, that I feel like I can relax. And it is such a peaceful and safe moment. But other than that, I just feel like I'm getting out of it. I'm slowly getting out of it, and I'm realizing that I'm getting out of it. but that survival mode is still there. I'm still hanging on to the tension that I had a year ago, 5 years ago, and like it's still held up in my body. I'm currently reading The Body Keeps the Score. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, something like that. I'm currently reading that book, and it is pretty good. But it is so true that your body holds on to every single thing that it's been through. Your body is so smart that when you're going through things, especially traumatic things, your body just wants to get you through it. And so you're basically just in survival mode. And that's just what it is. That's what's happening. And so even when you're going through the healing process, you're still holding on to that survival mode. And it's really hard to work through that. I regret some days. I mean, like, another thing that I grieve is just putting my younger self through those situations and those circumstances, and like just letting myself go through it. I know that I was not mature enough. I know that I didn't know enough. I know that I was just, like I said, surviving, trying to make it through. I was hurting so much, and I regret that my younger self went through it, but at the same time I don't, because I know that without the whole entire journey, I know that if one single thing was missing, I would not be where I am today. And I'm grateful for my journey because of that, and because of the things that I get to do, but I also know that I feel very mature for my age, and like I said, I'm grateful for it. But it's also hard sometimes that I had to learn in a very hard way. I grew up very quickly in the span of a year, and just learning so much about trauma and healing and learning so many life lessons in a year is absolutely insane. And I just cannot grasp that yet. Like, sometimes I don't feel like I'm turning 21 this year, and I do not feel like I should be turning 21. And it's hard. So as far as grieving that I put my younger self through that, and knowing that I am here today because I kept pushing through, I also know that it's not because of me pushing through. I know that the only reason why I got to where I am today is because God carried me through the entire journey, and he gave me the strength when I needed the strength. And it wasn't me. Like, yes, every single day I made the choice to turn away from the suicidal thoughts and continue forward, whether I was just surviving or not. I turned away and just focused on the next step. But I know that it wasn't me who got myself through that. It was God and his strength and just his love carrying me through every single step that happened through that whole entire journey. And yeah, so even the healing journey, like, there's some days that are so hard. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, the day that I'm recording this, it has been a pretty rough day, but because of God's strength, I'm getting through. And it's so beautiful to realize, like, even if I cannot get out of bed, if I talk to the Lord for a minute, I'm good and I'm ready to go. And while I still might not want to do it, his strength is carrying me through, and it is so beautiful to witness that. So the next thing that I want to move on to is I've had to grieve and regret a lot about not being a very good friend at times. There's a saying that a lot of people have been saying, and it's hurt people, and that is the absolute truth. Now, it's not an excuse for the things that I did, but I know at times I was hurting so much that I took it out on other people, and I didn't care what other people thought or had to say, and I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, and nobody else's opinions or emotions or feelings, circumstances mattered. Like, I just did what Kaylee wanted to do, and at the end I hurt people, and there's days where I really wish that I could go back and change those times, because I don't know, sometimes it haunts me and I regret it, but I also know that I learned from it, I grew, and now I know that when I'm hurting, I'm aware of what I need to do, and sometimes that is staying away from people, and that is perfectly okay. We just have to be aware of our triggers and our emotions and what we're feeling, and to understand that what we need in those times is going to help us so much. The last thing that I want to talk about that I am grieving while healing is while I was hurting, and I was hurting other people because of how badly I was hurting and just surviving, I have realized how much that I have loved other people, how much of myself I gave to other people, how much of the boundaries I tore down to, sorry, I was yawning, but how many walls I let people tear down. Like, people were overstepping boundaries constantly and just like crumbling over every single piece of my body and leaving their footprints on me, and it was not good. Like, I was struggling, and when I started healing, I realized that I was a people pleaser, and I cannot people please, and doing so just lets other people walk all over you, take advantage of you, and you give your love to the wrong people. I am telling you, I gave my love to the wrong people for so many years because I knew how much they were hurting. And so I saw that and I gravitated towards that, and I was like, well, if they're hurting, then they need to be loved. They need to be shown how much they can be loved and how worthy they are and all of these things. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Until somebody realizes that for themselves, they're not going to realize it through you. So I just realized I gave so many people love that honestly, they didn't really deserve it because of the way that they treated me, but I just kept giving it, and I kept giving it, and I kept emptying my cup, and like 5 other cups that weren't mine, like I was just pouring and pouring and pouring and never letting myself get filled back up, because I wanted these people to see how beautiful their souls could be and how great they could be and who they're meant to be, who God created them to be. I wanted them to see that for themselves, and I wanted to love them to that place, but it's not my job to do that. And so that whole point takes me to the next episode, which I'm going to talk about on Friday. So you guys will have an episode on Friday. I want to try and start doing 2 episodes a week, but for sure 1 episode a week. And yeah, so that's a little update. But basically, the end of this episode, we have to grieve when we're healing. It's healthy to do so. It's hard. And like I said, you're going to have regrets. You're going to wish you could go back and change things. But each step in your journey, every single thing that's happened has happened for a reason. It's a part of your story. And I'm going to tell you that when you start to heal and you start to see the beauty and healing, you're going to be able to help other people through that process. And I'm not saying you're going to have to help thousands of people, but you're going to be able to help at least one person if that person comes along on your path. And when we take our healing seriously, it affects everybody else around us. It is so great to see what we can do with healing, and just the transformation within ourselves is so great. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you want more ways to connect with me, you can click the link in the show notes. I have been posting a good bit over on TikTok, and I am posting a little bit on Instagram. It's been a little bit of a chaotic past few months, and so I'm just trying to figure everything out with social media, but that's a little update for you guys. So if you want to connect more, click the link, and there's different ways to connect. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you are going through any healing process, or listen, if you are in survival mode, it is time to get out of it. I don't know what you're in survival mode for, only you and God knows that, but it's time to get out of it. And while healing is very hard, surviving is a lot harder. So we're going to start healing, and yeah, we're just going to start the process. I promise you, it is so beautiful and it's so worth it. I love you all, and I will talk to you very soon.